Welcome to It's Not Your Fault, talk TV show hosted by Steve Shenk, and I'm your co-host Kim Powers-Stilson. Now, this show is on every week right here on Roku Box, Ustream, wherever you're listening in the world, YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Now, Steve Shenk is the author of It's Not Your Fault and also a wonderful humorist. You'll see Steve Shenkisms all over the place if you join us on Facebook or Pinterest or Twitter. Now, Steve, you know, every week we talk about something that's a part of the book, which is a fabulous book out. You can find it, more information about it on itsnotyourfault.tv. So it was today, I thought we'd get a little personal today so you get to know Steve a little better. We were at lunch with Steve and he told this wonderful story about his father. And that story that he told about his father related to one of our guests at the lunch table wanting to know more about how to be a good man like Steve Shenk and Steve Shenk's father. So first, let's tell everyone the story about your dad. I think it was very fun.
Which one? About moving the...
Yes.
Well, what my dad used to do, we used to sit with my mom straight across the table. He sat on this side, and I sat here as a kid, and whoever was visiting us would sit over here as a square table. And after we get done eating, he'd be talking, as you can imagine he did, because you've been around me, because you know, the human jaw is the strongest muscle in the body. But anyway, he'd be talking along, he'd start moving the dishes away. And pretty soon he'd have a spot on the table cleared about like this, and everybody else would have all the plates and dishes and, you know, in front of them. And my mom wore these little spectacles. And I'd watch her, and she'd start to do this a little bit, and she'd be looking at him, and she'd be looking at him, and she'd, "Hun, quit clearing." And then he'd pull it all back, and pretty soon he'd be starting moving it again. So.
Well, and what I thought was fun is right in the middle of lunch, you said, "I'm my dad. I'm my dad."
Yeah, that's scary.
But you seemed happy about it. And I think, you know, in society today, there's all these people are, you know, texting, and they're crazy busy doing so many disparate things. And it's rare that we sit down at a table together. But that's where you learn to be like your dad.
That's true, and the fascinating thing, I was out with my business partner. We were doing some negotiations last evening, and we walked to the car, and we had parked in different places, and I just walked her to her car and waited till she fumbled through that purse, which is about like this and kind of scary, but she finally found her car keys, and we didn't have to call the paramedics or anything, but the fact is that this morning we were talking about the concept of respect, and a lot of times people don't have, you know, we have half the marriages in this country are breaking up in a very short period of time. We've got pornography is going absolutely nuts, and people are not associating, they're not staying connected. You don't see the little couple that's been married for eons of years still holding hands. And the fascinating thing is when my wife and I go out to dinner and we sit in a booth at a restaurant, we all sit on the same side. And I can't tell you how many, I mean, we want to be close together. A lot of times they feed us a daggone much food that we just split a meal anyway just to make sense.
And your wife's really cute.
Yeah, well, she's a cutie, but she's left-handed, and so you never sit on the wrong side of a left-handed person when you're trying to eat dinner. It just, you know, you got elbow problems. But the fact is that I can't tell you how many waitresses have commented on the fact that we sit on the same side of the table. Well, one of them made this statement, you know, you can always tell a married couple because they don't talk. They just sit there and they shovel in the food. And you can always tell a couple when they're dating, and first of all, they're both extremely well groomed, and they're sitting there very properly, and they're putting their best foot forward, and so you've got a really interesting scenario. People take each other for granted, and basically what it is they lose respect. Now, I mentioned a little bit earlier pornography. I know that you don't like that subject very well, but it's affecting so many families. It's affecting relationships, even people that are dating are affected by this, because what's happening in our country, we have beauty pageants for babies, we have all of this approval thing, we have young teenagers that need to be thinner and thinner and thinner until eventually they just blow away. And we have people looking for that approval and looking, you know, there's a song, you know, looking for love in all the wrong places, looking for approval in all the wrong places, and there doesn't seem to be the respect between couples. Now, the relationships, there's a principle in the book that's called, I like me best when I'm with you. Now, think about it. When a couple is dating, when they're courting, you know, she would never be caught dead being seen by him in the ways that many housewives allow themselves to be seen.
Guilty.
There you go.
I have a friend, too, that in her entire marriage never lets her husband see her without makeup. Every morning she'd lock the bathroom door until she was fully groomed, and, you know, wouldn't come out of her room till then.
Why? Okay, here's an interesting thing. All the time that we're courting, we're putting our best foot forward. You know, the guy that would never be seen with a wife beater, you know, tank top on with beer stains on the front when he's dating the girl has no problem getting up from the dinner table, going in, drinking his beer, watching his TV, falling asleep, getting up, belching loudly, and going to bed. I mean, this is Don Juan. This is Casanova.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. No, and the thing is that women are just as guilty of the same thing. And you know, it was interesting that Jay Leno on one of his programs came out with a statistic that said that 85% of women in relationships would rather read a book or watch TV than make love. There's something missing there. And I kind of blame it on the guys. I kind of blame it on the guys. I'm sorry. But the thing is, in the couples that I see, my partner commented this morning on the fact that I'd walked her to her car, because we were talking about respect and what's going on, and she'd been talking about one of her relatives and a relationship that's there, and the guy is really dropping the ball. And in our own family, we have a couple situations where the guy is just kind of a self-centered character that really these little wives are just working their tails off, dealing with 3 or 4 kids and working and taking care of the house and everything. Here's a law. Anytime 2 people are together, and you go back to the courtship thing, if you can continue in a relationship the courtship permanently, and how do you do that? Well, every one of us, your little friend that wouldn't let her husband see her without makeup, what she's doing, she's living the law of me, which says everything that I do is based on how I want to see myself and how I want you to see me. And if I want you to feel best when you're around me, so you want to be around me, so that, you know, if we were married, you would rather, you know, lean over and give me a smooch than watch something on TV. It's all in how I make you feel. If you can say to me, I like me best when I'm with you, then the television isn't important, the book isn't important. And remember back when you were courting. Everyone out there that's of a mature age has had dates and is dating now with the teenagers and the adults and the old-timers. Everybody has had those experiences where they wanted to look the best they could.
That's right. Hours in the bathroom getting ready for prom.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. And I would not, when we go into work at the business, I try, and it's my business, but I don't want to look like a slob.
Yeah, I've never seen you look like a slob, ever. I haven't watched you move stuff and you didn't look like a slob.
Right.
Cool.
What's the point, though? Very simply, if we can keep treating each other like we're still courting, continue to do the things after 10 years of marriage that you would do if you were just trying to get this girl to think you were the greatest thing since sliced bread. Mm. And if the gals would continue to do that, continue to try and entice their husbands to think that they're the most beautiful thing in the world. And the fascinating thing is physical beauty has been way overrated as opposed to personal inner beauty. And the fact is that what we've got with the book is it's not your fault. The nicest thing is that every individual has this image of themselves. And the way that we can make another person feel really good is to improve their image of themselves and recognize and respect them as a thinking, feeling human being that wants one thing. That's one thing. Now, most people would say, what is the one thing? And they would probably answer me, to be liked. But there's something even more important than that. There's something significantly more important than you wanting to be liked by someone else. And I think I gave you the key right now. It's our absolute desperate need to be liked by ourselves. And so if you want to be liked most by yourself, okay, then what can I do to make you like me and feel most comfortable and like to be around me? Is I can make you like yourself. Now, I will guarantee you...
Very distinctive phone ring, right in the middle of radio, typically.
Yeah, well, that's my son.
It's the thing today, right?
There you go.
Do you want to get it?
No, that's all right. They don't want to hear me talk to my son. Okay. I say nasty things, but no, that's all right. But anyway, the best thing that I can do is to make you feel good about yourself. Mm-hmm. And I'll guarantee you, some of you folks that have been married for 20 years, your wife does not have the figure still that she would like to show if she were out dating.
Yeah, thanks to the 8 kids. Yeah,
there you go. Or even 3 or 4 kids. Or even 1 kid, if it was like one of my kids. But anyway.
The dogs or the cats.
or dogs. Anyway.
By the way, this is Lexi.
But the fact is that our outward appearance is very important to us. But let's go back to that little plump gal that doesn't look like she'd like to look for her husband to be attracted
or for herself,
if she was out dating, yes. Mm-hmm. One of the things, is it her fault? No, it's not. But back when you were dating, if you saw something that was not all that wonderful about the person,
you didn't see it.
Yeah. What did you tend to do? You tended to ignore it.
And let's talk more about that after our break. The secret to that.
Okay. Secret to that.
You're listening to It's Not Your Fault, watching It's Not Your Fault. This is Steve Shenk, author of the book. You can find us on Facebook, It's Not Your Fault Talk Show. We'll be right back after this.
Folks, have you ever realized that freedom is spelled F-O-O-D? Food. After air and water, food is our greatest dependency. Taking control of that dependency ensures personal power, independence, and freedom. We can't control earthquakes, storms, martial law, dollar crash inflation, the global warming hoax, farm and garden restrictive legislation, job loss, crop failures, or the 2012 planet disruptions. However, if we have our own food, none of these can control us. Hunger can never be used to control you. If you never are forced to stand in a bread line mind because you do not have your own bread. It seems the only freedom we still have control of is possession of food. If we don't control our own food, events are rapidly moving to use food to control us. Freedom truly is spelled F-O-O-D. Contact efoodsdirect.com or call 800-409-5633. That's efoodsdirect.com or 800-409-5633.
And welcome back to It's Not Your Fault, the talk TV show hosted by Steve Shenk. And I'm your co-host, Kim Power-Stilson, with co-host Lexi. She's having a nice nap on your knee.
There you go.
Now, before the break, we were talking about respect, and we were talking about, in particular, the story of this woman who just wasn't quite the way she wanted to be or had been. And when she had been dating her husband, how you ignore. You actually, maybe they are not perfect. No one's perfect. When you're dating, you see the positives and you ignore.
Some of us aren't perfect.
Yeah.
You know, but, that's a pretty wide swath that you cut with. Nobody's perfect.
Okay.
But no, very simply, the point that I'm making is that the little things that we would choose not to even notice, what are we doing? We're giving that person a not your fault.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay? If the girl's figure is not just quite, perfect model hourglass, but the guy thinks she's just absolutely wonderful, he's going to ignore any of the little flaws and things. Well, the secret to keeping that courtship forever is, do you really want to try and get someone, the guy that walks down the street and is ogling every girl,
ew, creepy, yeah,
right next to his wife, Yeah, that first of all, is a tremendous lack of respect. But what's the point? There's a principle in the book that says to know me is to love me. If he truly knows that person, he has to love her. And if he doesn't let his mind wander and gives her a no fault on the stuff that he would want to be judgmental of,
right, good point,
and look for the things that are wonderful about her, so that he can emphasize those things, he will get that wonderful stuff, and she will be able to say, I like me best when I'm with you, and treat him in such a way that he can say, well, gee whiz, I've got some flaws that she overlooks.
Right.
The dirty socks on the floor at the end of the bed when he leaves for work in the morning.
Yeah, love handles, whatever, yeah.
She doesn't mind, she doesn't mind picking up those dirty socks, or she completely ignores the love handles and says, it's you that I want to feel best about.
And my focus is making you feel best when I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a principle in Steve's book, which is a fabulous chapter. It's an entire chapter, actually.
And it actually works.
It actually works.
The amazing thing is it actually works. So if people can look at things, I know that a lot of you are starting from way down the hill because you've let this go so far. But start thinking, sit down and talk with each other and say, if we were still courting, if we went back to the time when Melvin, you drove 150 miles just to be able to be with me one night, and then you drove 150 miles back so that you could be to work the next morning, when you had those feelings toward each other, if you can go back and say, what are we doing different now?
Okay.
What attributes of each other are we preferring to bring up and point out that we would have ignored and given a no fault to? You see, that's why it's not your fault is really an important concept.
Yeah.
When I first came up with it, I was looking at a little gal. I've told you this story before. I was in a store, and there was this little gal pushing a cart in front of me. She was kind of dowdy looking, and she had a kid that was kind of snotty nosed, and and she was wrestling with the kid and trying to get her groceries.
Everyone's worst day.
Having a rough day. And I had just written another concept on It's Not Your Fault. And I looked at her, and normally I'd say, but I said, it's not her fault. Nobody ever intentionally does anything stupid or offensive. It's just that we by default end up with some things that we don't want. So if we can go back and look at the stuff that we dealt with when we were just courting, when we still had that excitement going, look at the stuff now that you are judgmental of, that back then you would have given a no fault. It doesn't matter. You see, the interesting thing, nothing matters if I feel good about myself when I'm with you. If I don't have to be reminded that I've got this muffin top. If you don't say, oh, I wish you'd get rid of that. You can't change anybody anyway. Why try and fix somebody? Every one of us wants to be liked the way we are.
Yeah.
Most important, we need to like ourselves the way we are. So what if your mate is trying to tell you, well, you need to fix this, you need to fix this, you need to fix it. How does it make you feel about you?
Yeah.
It's not a matter of, and he thinks that he's trying to get you to do something to please him. No, all it does is make you feel bad about you, and you don't want to be next to him.
Yeah,
that's why 85% of women, as I understand from Jay Leno, and he's an authority, would rather read a book or watch TV than make love with their significant other, and that's pretty dadgum pathetic.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Well, this has been a version of It's Not Your Fault. You can find more about us on Facebook. Steve Shenk, you can find him on Facebook too. We have the book, we have the coaching seminars, etc. People are coming from all over the nation to find out more about something as simple as I like me best when I'm with you. Thanks for watching It's Not Your Fault today.
Thank you.